Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
How do you like it? How do you like it?
That is unbelievable.
These guys will be legends in their own country, but also in the international basketball world forever.
That is what sport means. That is what the EuroLeague trophy means.
Are you not entertained?
I'm not supposed to be cheering, but this is X Series. I can do whatever I want.
Everything is difficult in this life, so still you need to be on it.
It all comes down to tonight. Don't miss the biggest night in MMA. PFL is more than a fight.
To the end zone for the win!
Oh my gosh, one of the great games you'll ever see.
The competition is back, and the UEFA Women's Champions League looks set to be bigger and better than ever before.
It's their time, a night to remember.
The following programme is recommended for those 16 and over, as it contains sporting violence, possible bad language, and flashing imagery.
This is the moment the world has been waiting for. The judges are ready, the fighters are ready, the boxing world is ready. The fight starts now!
How do you like it? On the zone. So aggressive, so focused.
It all comes down to this. Media Workout, live on DAZN.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Chris Eubank Jr versus Conor Benn fight week here in London. On Saturday night, under the bright lights of the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, the fighters will be in a boxing ring. Today, though, they go through their paces in this ring here. It's the Media Workouts. Watch it all live, day 2 on DAZN.
We've walked a similar path in the shadows of legends.
That's mental, that is. You've got Eubanks to sign it as well. Yeah, let me quickly scribble a bit.
They say never strikes twice. I knew that the chances of me ever being able to make it in boxing were so slim that it's like it wasn't even really worth me trying. I guess the sickness inside of me. Let me see how far I can get. But I've done that now.
Why do this to yourself? Because I love the challenge, the drive, the goals, the ambition, the fighting. As long as I reach my full potential and I can look back and go, I've done everything I could.
I don't have to fight now. I could retire tomorrow and I would be okay. But I don't want to be fine. I want to be excellent.
Before I even turned pro, it got mentioned. Irrelevant of how far apart we were in our careers when we first started, the gap seems to have closed very quickly, mainly because of all the work I've been doing.
He doesn't worry me. He doesn't scare me. I don't see him as a threat.
What, you think I'm going to be a walk in the park?
I mean, yeah, on a nice summer's day. You got to prove me wrong.
I rise to the occasion every single time. I'm ready for this.
Life's a coat of many colors. It is never black and white. Can't have one without the other.
In my opinion, I'd stop him inside 8 rounds.
I do fancy my son. Trooper in session.
I've said this and I believe I'll win by stoppage. Within 6.
If he's saying it's going to end in 6 rounds, then it will end in 6 rounds. he will end in 6 rounds.
Boy is in trouble. Yes! 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 Yes!
The dark without the light.
Yes, day 2 is here. Good evening, everybody. Once again, we are in Canary Wharf, London, and today it's the open workouts, the countdown to the weekend. Well and truly on, Eubank Jr versus Benn. Your main event live on DAZN. Special times indeed. How lucky are we? Yes, Jamie Ward here alongside me, 2 former world champions. Firstly, Mr. Barry Jones, former WBO World Super Featherweight Champion, and joining us today, welcome to the lineup, former WBC World Cruiserweight King, Mr. Tony Bellew, and of course, 2023's I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here runner-up, Tony. So good to have you here, Tony, I must say. Let me come to you straight away. When you think of... He's not happy about it. He actually told me to say that as well.
Brave boy, Rusty.
He told me to say it. Tony, when you think about this week, look, it was never more than a fantasy, was it? I mean, when you look at where they were at in their careers, when Conor Benn first turned professional with a weight gap as well. But now we are here. I asked Barry and Darren this yesterday. What are some of your emotions now we are finally here?
I'm excited, and we're here now. Like, I'm watching the build-up there and watching, what's being put together, and I'm excited. I don't really get drawn into hyping fights because I've been there, we've done it, and as fighters, we're just like, yeah, it's another one. But I'm fully immersed in this. I'm fully immersed, and it's huge. It's massive, and I cannot wait for Saturday night.
Barry, the media workouts, look, sometimes we get a little bit of everything. Sometimes the fighters will turn up and they'll go for a full pad session, and it's an early indication of the type of fight week shape they're in. Sometimes they walk into the ring, they wave to the cameras, and they walk out. Are you expecting a little bit of both today?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're gonna find out with some of the less experienced fighters, they're going to want to enjoy this moment, so they get on the pads and they'll show what they got, and they'll maybe do a little bit too much and waste a little bit too energy. But I think the experienced fighters here, the ones who've been there before, like the Liam Smiths and the Anthony Yardes, they're going to be a little bit more economical with what they do, and they'll maybe just do a bit of stretching or just a little bit on the light pad stuff. They're not going to show anything. And the 2 main characters as well, I can't believe or see they want to do anything more than just get in the ring and go through the motions, which is fine, because we just want to, more importantly, we're going to get them up on the stage and have a chat with a few of them and get to see what's in their heads, how they're feeling now, and if they give us any little magic nuggets of information that we can maybe judge our opinions on.
Well, we do love a British rivalry, a British grudge match, and this man, Tony Bellew, was in a few of those. I mean, off the top of my head, obviously, the 2 fights with Cleverly, the 2 fights with David Haye. I mean, looking back here, as you can see, I mean, these fights with David Haye, Tony, were massive. I remember being at university at the time, and the whole of the student union got together to watch this one. It was pretty special, but in the build-up to that one, everything that was said with David Haye, I remember in the build-up to the first fight, he told you he was just going to sit on his yacht and not even train, and he'd still knock you out in the fight. How did you deal with all that, and how did you remain in control of the emotions?
It's about trying to not become emotionally invested in fights, and to be fair, I was never emotionally invested. I just wound them up. For the first fight, I just wound him up like a coil, and he exploded on fight night. He went nuts. He just tried to take my head off. Learned his lesson. Second time come down, prepared properly, was 100% fit, because everyone remembers the first fight for what happened, and he showed his real bravery. He's the bravest man I've ever fought, fighting with, basically a snapped Achilles tendon for 6 rounds. It's unbelievable. And the rematch, you've just got to not be emotionally invested and involved. If you do, that's when it can drain you, because for the Cleverly fight, for the rematch, I wasn't emotionally invested, and I was exhausted when the first bell went, and it showed. I fought on pure adrenaline that night. I wasn't fighting on fitness or skill. I just got on his chest and worked, and it was a terrible fight to watch, but it was one that thankfully I got over the line and won.
I think Chris and Conor are emotionally involved in this fight.
Yeah, in their own different ways. I think Conor needs to be emotionally involved. I think he's one of those, like his dad, a very reactive fighter. So I think the more things that happen, the more things they can draw on. and have that anger, and I think that gives him their focus that they need to be an aggressive and thoughtful fighter with it. I think with Chris, he needs to just control the narrative, like he has throughout his career, like his dad tried to do and did almost successfully whoever he fought against. And I think Chris Jr. is the same way, and I think he's been that in this scenario. I think he's controlled most things. I think hitting Conor with the egg, just made sure he was in full control of it all as well again. But I think they complement each other. Because the angrier he gets Conor, I think the better Conor we're going to see. And the more he's in control, I think the best Chris we're going to see, or this version of Chris Jr., because he'll be full of himself. And I think he needs to be full of himself to be good. See, some people are over-arrogant and then they make mistakes. I think with the Eubanks, in general, the more arrogant they are, the more in control they are, the better they are for it. And I think the Benns, Conor and Nigel, the more back against the wall, it makes them more reactive, and the more reactive they are, makes them sharper, angrier, and ultimately more explosive, which makes them a better fighter.
Well, everyone will always tell you that fights aren't won and lost in a boxing gym, in the ring rather necessarily. They're won in the walls of the gym. Let's have a little look at what Conor Benn's been up to in camp.
I didn't realise how much boxing meant to me until it was taken away. So for me, boxing is my life, it's my world, it's who I am, it's not what I do, it's just the man I am. That's how I feel about boxing.
7 last one. Drive up. And we've got our weight to the 10th minute. 23. 4. Good. 4. Yes. Come back. Yes. 1 more. 3 more. Drive. 3. Up. 6. 8.
What have you always admired, Tony, about the work ethic of Conor Benn, what we've just seen there, and Chris Eubank Jr. as well, given where they've come from?
You've just hit the nail on the head, Jay. That's what I admire most about them, where they've come from. These boys were born in silk pyjamas, never mind, let's find our way to them. These boys were born them, and to have the drive and the work ethic that they both have, because let's be totally honest, regardless of what level you think these lads are at, they're working the absolute socks off to become champions. They're going through contenders, they're going down the right routes, they're fighting everyone and anyone, and that's something that can't be taken away from them. And the toughest part about that is they never needed to. The likes of me and Barry, we come from different places, different atmospheres, and we're driven by getting out. It's our way out. These lads were already out, and they've jumped in. They've jumped into the fire, and I commend them for it, I really do. It takes such a strong person mentally to want to go through what you go through in a boxing gym, because you go through the mill, believe you me, to get to the top. And both boys are dancing around and flirting with big contenders up the top end of the table. And to do that and to remain at that level, it takes an awful lot of sacrifice, dedication and discipline. So I'll take my hat off to both of them for that.
We were joined by Chris Eubank Jr. in the studio yesterday. He was calm, he said he was at peace, he just wants to get in the ring and have fun, but he also said that the procedure will be parliamentary. And I said, what does that mean? And he says, complete and utter domination in every way you can imagine. I remember in the build-up to the original date, October 2022, it was very much, he only has to be at 60%. That's what he kept saying. Do you think he truly believes that?
Where he got that parliamentary procedure show.
I've heard that somewhere before.
Do you think he truly believes that this is a formality?
Yeah.
I think he does, and see, as boxers, you become the biggest liar on the planet, because you have
to liar also.
Of course, you have to convince yourself that you can do things that you don't think you can do, and then in the end you end up doing it or you don't. But I mean, the thought of going in the ring and doing what you have to do sometimes, if you really thought about it, it'd overwhelm you. You wouldn't do it. So you have to lie yourself, I can beat this guy, whoever he is. Like he went in with David Tate. No, I did a massive column why you couldn't beat David Tate. You know what I mean? I mean, he could.
Baz.
No, but you couldn't have, and you shouldn't have beat him. That's the fact, but you did.
So it is.
No, I mean.
Thankfully, brains win fights, not bodies.
Well, it's more than that. You had to initially put yourself in a position to go through hell to get there, and so to do that, you have to lie to yourself. So him saying that is a bit. He believes it, but he's making himself believe it. More importantly, he knows Conor will hear that, and he knows it'll wind Conor up.
In terms of the game plan that you expect Conor Benn to implement in his fight? I mean, he said it in the build-up to the fight, Tony. Look, the bell's going to ring. It's a hop, a skip, a jump, a right hook upstairs, a left hand to the body, and it's good night, Chris Eubank Jr. What do you truly see, though, as the keys to victory for Conor Benn in this fight?
Keys to victory is how long and how intense can you be? How long can you be that intense for? That's the key for me. If he can keep the intensity level up for 12 rounds, he wins this fight at a canter. If you can just keep going non-stop and be relentless, and when I say relentless, I'm talking 100 punches a round. That's relentless. If he can do that for 12 rounds, he walks this fight. I think he can. I think he's going to stop him. I think he's going to catch him, and I just think he's going to be so relentless. But like I've said before, there's a flip side to that coin. If this boy's taking everything you've got and he's still there after 6 rounds, you're bang in trouble, because then he's going to start coming back with stuff. And I touched on this earlier. In my opinion, Chris Eubank Jr. is a better fighter than he ever was a boxer. When he lets his hands go and starts throwing combinations, he's going to hurt people. It's going to cause damage. And in that second half of the fight, that's when he's going to be at his most prominent, I believe. And so for me, fight of 2 halves. But it's not like he's going to get through the first half unscathed. He's going to receive some heavy blows and he's going to take damage. What can he do to combat that? That's the big question for me.
We were just looking at that highlight reel of Conor Benn there, and I think all the best wins at 147. You look at Chris Algieri, at Vargas, at Van Heerden as well. That was 3 years ago this month, the last time he's boxed at 147 pounds. What have you made of Conor Benn's last 2 performances against the Roscoe at 153 pounds and then Dobson in February last year at 150 pounds?
Not as impressive. That's just the fact. And whether that's because he had a bit of time out and the problems he had, maybe not being able to focus on your training, worry about other things outside the ring, that can be an effect. Or just sometimes when you move up in weight, you're not as explosive, and more importantly, your presence is not as threatening as it was at the lower weight. That can be a problem. I'm not saying that's what it is, but they can be factors in that. I think Dobson was a better fighter than we give him credit for. I think let's be honest about that. But still, he wasn't the same. There wasn't the same pop in his shots. And he'll need that pop in his shots if he's going to make a dent in Eubank Jr. I think what Tony's saying is pretty good. Where he has to be the aggressor. He has to come in, and I think he has to come in very low, try and get underneath that jab, and then when he comes up, he can explode into his combinations and work up the ladder from the hips to the chin, all the way up, brrr, like that. And he's that sort of puncher who can punch like that with weight with every shot. But it's going to be hard to close that gap. And if Eubank can take the centre of the ring and keep popping that jab in his face, and then when Conor really commits, takes half a step back and whips that uppercut through the middle, that might stop Conor coming forward. And if you can put an extra thought in Conor's brain when he attacks, he's going to be in trouble.
Do you know what's an important part of this fight? And people have missed this. The corners play massive parts in this fight on Saturday, because you need to keep your man's head in the game. You really do. If Chris Eubank Jr. is to get dropped at some stage, he's going to need, Ronnie to talk in his ear. Jonathan Banks a really calming voice in the corner. He's been at the highest levels with the likes of the Klitschko's and stuff like that. Tony Sims has been around for a long time, knows the game inside out, but he's been with Conor from the get-go. I mean, Chris Eubank Jr.'s had more trainers than Nike, but it's just... He needs someone who he can tie with, and I think in Ronnie Davis that he knows that, you know what I mean? So I think Ronnie will still be a major voice in the corner, but Jonathan's a really good coach and he's calm, so we shouldn't miss that, because these are going to have to play vital parts on Saturday night. You need to keep your man in the game and you need to keep his head on the job, because the minute someone loses their head on Saturday night, you're going to lose the fight, in my opinion.
Can that happen even on the ring walk? Yes. I mean, I was saying to the lads yesterday, Tony, Chris Eubank Jr. has said this is the first fight where there's 2 bad guys who both might get booed into the ring.
With that. Do you know, in the grand scheme of things, who cares who's good and who's bad? Yeah. I mean, at the end's been painted as the bad guy since he walked into boxing, and he's done all right out of it. I just think, no one cares. At the end of the day, nobody cares, Jay. Paint the bad guy, good guys, boo, whatever. I've been booed, then I've been cheered, then I've been booed, then cheered out, cheered in, booed out. It doesn't matter. All that matters is when that bell goes, who's best prepared, who can adapt, who wants it more.
But it is quite often in big fights of this magnitude, quite often who copes with the pressure the best. I mean, skill and fitness, everyone's trained hard, everyone's right for the fight. If all your training's gone as best as it can possibly be, that's a given, for instance. But the pressure, and in a big massive fight like this, especially for Conor, I would say, the pressure, he hasn't dealt with this kind of pressure. Chris has dealt with similar, not as big, but similar. Groves, Billy Joe Saunders back early in his career, that was a big fight for him at the time as well. And obviously booed there from start to finish, by the way. That was all full of Saunders fans. So it's if you can cope with the pressure. And if you can keep calm or keep in your own zone, I think that gives you a massive plus going forward.
OK, well, that is, of course, the main event, but there are 5 fights to look forward to in total on Saturday night, live here on DAZN from the home of Tottenham Hotspur in North London. What a night it promises to be. 5 p.m. start time, around 5:15 p.m. will be the sound of the first bell. All 5 fights are 12 3-minute rounds. We begin with a cruiserweight contest. Former world champion Chris Billam-Smith looking to get back to winning ways and right back into the mix when he faces Brandon Glanton. Chris says he'll rewrite some wrongs from that defeat to Zeda Ramirez 5 months ago. Brandon says he'll batter the gentleman all around the ring on Saturday and has promised fireworks, told us not to blink in that one. Similar story in this one. A cruiserweight also looking to bounce back to winning ways is Chev Clark. Defeat for the European title last time out. He defends his British crown against the unbeaten 12-0 English champion Vidal Riley. A fight that has been brewing. We finally see it. A really fantastic matchup, that one. Middleweight action follows. Former world champion Liam Smith back after 19 months out the ring to show there is still plenty left in the tank. He faces the silencer, 19-0 rising star Aaron McKenna. Then in the chief support, it's 1 apiece between Anthony Yarde and Lyndon Arthur. They put their own rivalry to bed on Saturday night before, of course, the main event. This is it, born rivals, Chris Eubank Jr versus Conor Benn. All the questions answered on Saturday night, and aren't we the lucky ones? We get to sit back along with all the fans around the world and watch it unfold right here on DAZN. And whilst this may be the global home of boxing, it's not just the fights that you can look forward to this summer.
Comes to DAZN this summer. The world's best players will be summoned together to decide the greatest club on earth.
Vinicius, great chance to score.
Goats will battle Wonder Kids. Fire will meet ice. From Boca to Bayern, PSG to Palmeiras, 32 clubs from across the globe will compete to be crowned
Rodrigo, what a strike that was!
world champion. And this summer, Haaland won't be watching from home, but you can, on DAZN. In every country in the world. FIFA Club World Cup. Watch on DAZN from the 14th of June.
OK, well, DAZN, the official global broadcaster for the 2025 FIFA Club World Cup. 32 of the world's top football clubs will collide. Watch all 63 games live on DAZN, beginning on June the 14th. Well, let's get the media workouts underway. Your MC, Mr. Thomas Streiber.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the media workout for Fatal Fury. A great night of championship boxing this Saturday, April 26th, from Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London, England. It is being brought to you by Ring Magazine and SNK Corporation, the publisher of the famous video fighting game Fatal Fury City of Wolves, with Ben Shalom for Boxer, Eddie Hearn for Matchroom Boxing, and Box Raw in association with Ring Magazine. Along with their great sponsors. Public Investment Fund, Visit Saudi, STC, SRMG, Dr. Suleiman El Habib Medical Group, Saudia, the national airline of Saudi Arabia, Jeddah Season, Malaf Cola, Visit Qatar, Core Group, Desert, NHC, Jacko, Sky, Arab National Bank, First Data, Sella, and SMC. A big thanks to those great sponsors. It will be broadcast worldwide on DAZN and on Sky Sports Box Office in the UK. Final tickets are available now through ticketmaster.co.uk. Let's now get the media workout started. Our first 2 fighters will be competing Saturday in a scheduled 12-round cruiserweight contest. Let's first welcome, coming to us from Atlanta, Georgia, USA. He brings a professional record of 20 wins, 2 defeats, 17 of his 20 wins coming by way of knockout. Here is the highly ranked fighter by all major sanctioning bodies and number 8 by Ring Magazine, Brandon Bulletproof Glanton.
Here we go then, Barry. Brandon Glanton in the ring here, 20-2, 17 big wins by knockout. At 33, says this is his big moment, not short of self-confidence either. Has had plenty to say in the build-up, told us not to blink. Could this potentially be the sleeper on the card, and it's the opener?
Yeah, I think so, because he's an aggressive fighter who comes out fast and believes in his power, and I think that's important for him to. He's going to hit a guy here who takes a good shot, who's extremely fit in Bilham Smith, but he has to believe that he can make a dent, because if he doesn't make a dent, then certainly from round 8 onwards, it's going to be a really struggle for him. So he has to try and hurt Bilham Smith. Even if he just knock him down, hurt him, tire him, and drag him into his sort of fight.
What are the keys, Tony, to beating a fighter like Chris Bilham Smith?
He's obviously the smaller man. Bilham Smith's a big lump for a cruiserweight, big heavy lump as well. Who has championship experience and knowledge behind him. But Glanton, he's got to get on his chest, he's got to make it rough, he's got to make it hard early doors. And if I'm being so honest, he's got to hope to land something big. But I don't know, I struggle to see it. I just think Chris Bilham Smith's a really good fighter. You just don't know what the fights have taken out of him at this stage. He's had some really tough nights and some really great big wins as well. The Viatport, the Akoli fight. I really rate Chris Bilham Smith, and I think the job Shane McGuigan's done with him is commendable.
But I'll tell you what is good for Glanton. All his stoppages have been early, up until his last fight, when he stopped the guy in Russia, a Russian in Russia, in 11 rounds. So the fact that he stopped him late in the fight will give him a bit more self-belief there, Tony.
Do you fancy it, I mean, do you think he's got the power to stop Chris Bilham Smith?
I think he's got the power to hurt Bilham Smith, but I'm not quite sure. I mean, you're talking about, what did that fight with Zurdo Ramirez take out of Bilham Smith? I think that's going to be the factor, because that was a really, really hard fight. Yeah. And even though Bilham Smith has been fantastic in his career and keeps proving people wrong continuously, he's had a lot of hard fights in a short space of time. I think he's still relatively fresh, but you know what it's like. You're fresh one day, you're not fresh the next. So you've got to be banking on that. But I think if you can get in early and hurt Smith, then whoever fit Smith is, when you're hurt, you're fighting on an empty tank.
Yeah, and like I said, the thing I like with Chris Bilham Smith, he's been with Shane McGuigan from the get-go, and they've got a really good relationship. He planned for fights really well. I mean, the Zurdo fight, I never picked him to win, to be honest. I thought Zurdo was always going to box the way he did and just run away with it. But it's one of them styles make fights. I think with this Glanton fella, he's hunting him, he's coming for him. And, he's shown us that he can overcome adversity by going to Russia, getting that 11th round stoppage. But I just don't know. I think for Chris Bilham Smith, use that jab, let Glanton come in, unload. And let's also not forget, Chris Bilham Smith is not a light puncher in his mouth. He can whack. You'll get your respect. You'll get his respect.
Yeah, Glanton certainly well positioned heading in to Saturday's action. Number 3 with the WBA, 5 with the WBC, 11 with the IBF, 8 with the WBO. You have to say, when you look at this division, Zurdo Ramirez, of course, unified world champion. He faces Dorticos later this year. Jai Opetaia, many consider to be the best cruiserweight in the world right now. IBF and Ring Magazine world champion. Badu Jack in the mix as well. You have to say the winner of this will be in a great position, Barry. It will,
but he's been here sort of before. When he boxed David Light, the winner of that would have gone on to box, obviously, Lawrence Okoli, which David Light did, of course, and lost on points in Manchester, I think, if I remember rightly. But so he's been this sort of level for a long time now, Glanton. So this is sort of like a crossroads fight for him, because even though Bilham Smith has been a former world champion and is looking to get back on the road to titles again, if he can win another fight, let's call this an eliminator for argument's sake. If he can win another eliminator for the world title fight, then not the question thrown at him, but him and his team, they're going to start thinking, do we really have, you know, when you start doubting in the self, do we really have what it takes to get over the line to challenge for the world title?
Will he feel, Tony, to a certain extent, that he's got nothing to lose here, Brandon Glanton?
Oh, he's got everything to lose, because he loses this fight, he goes right back down the pecking order, Jay, and it's hard, it's a long road back, it really is. I've been there as a light heavyweight, you know, your world collapses and you've got to reinvent yourself and show someone, you know, what you've really got. And he's not going to want to start again, and let me tell you, this division is deep, it's full of sharks, it's a hard division, you know, so it's a crossroads fight for both. But I must admit, I do edge towards Chris Billam-Smith. I just edge towards the better boxer, the better wins on his record, the better resume. And he's got, like I said before, he's got a really good coach in his corner, Shane McGuigan. I rate Shane McGuigan as a coach, I really do.
Brandon Glanton now poses for the world's media. Massive opportunity for him on Saturday night, in with former world champion Chris Billam-Smith, who will be in the ring next, looking to get back to winning ways. Big fight for both on Saturday. Thomas Schreiber is standing by.
And now let's welcome the fighting pride of Bournemouth, England. He has a professional record consisting of 20 wins, 2 defeats, 13 of his 20 wins coming by way of knockout. He is the former WBO Cruiserweight Champion of the World and ranked number 2 by Ring Magazine, known as the Gentleman, Chris Billam-Smith.
Here he is, the gentleman, Chris Billam-Smith. Trainer Shane McGuigan makes his way onto the apron as well. He tends to find a way to win, doesn't he, Barry? Albeit couldn't do that in the last fight against Zerdo Ramirez, but he's done it in the fight, particularly with Lawrence Okoli. When you look at that one as well, he's never without heart. That's never the question with Chris Billam-Smith.
What you see with Chris Billam-Smith is, I mean, when you see his earliest career, he was matched quite hard, and you sort of think, oh, that's a difficult road to walk. But what you see with that as well, how he's been able to learn off every fight. So when he stepped up a level, he could produce the goods, because he's already been in hard fights in his 7th, 8th, 9th fight. So when you get to so close to world level, you're already knowing about yourself, what you like in a war, what you like when you hit a guy and he doesn't move, what you like when you take a shot and you panic but you know it's a regroup. And so when he came up against Lawrence Okoli, which I didn't give him a chance and a lot of people didn't, when he got hurt and hit, he carried on going forward. He knew he had to smother his work. Obviously they sparred together, so he knew him very well, and he was in Bournemouth, his home ground, of course that helped him, but still, you still got to do the work, and he did it so well. So I think, you know, he's grown as he won the title, and before that and going to be a fabulous fight. He's not just a good chin with a good work rate, he's honed his skills, Tony, I think, into an all-round good fighter.
He has, Barry, as say, he's versatile, he's good, you know, he's got a good skill set, and he's well schooled. As I said, he's overcome adversity in his career on a number of occasions, and what you touched upon there, I think, was very, very good. He finds a way to win. Whether it's ugly, whether you don't like it, I don't really care. He finds a way. He can win ugly, he can win well, he can win by knockout. He's got multiple ways to win. I just think for Chris, he's just got to be on it on the night. He's not got to let, you know, emotions get involved, or, you know, feel like he's got to do something that he doesn't need to do. He's just got to go in there and be Chris Billam-Smith. Box. Use your jab, use your size, and implement that strength. To be fair, he looks slim. I don't know if it's been a struggle getting down to cruiserweight at this occasion, guys. The older you get, the tougher it gets. But he just looks really athletic.
And he's deceivingly big, Billam-Smith.
Oh, he's a lump.
I mean, everyone's deceivingly big to me, but I mean, he is especially deceivingly big.
Looks in fantastic shape.
I believe we may well be joined by the gentleman, Chris Billam-Smith, to get the inside scoop on his emotions and mindset heading into this fight. as I said, Barry, he wants to rewrite the wrongs from that Zerdo Ramirez fight 5 months ago over in Riyadh. From what you could see, what were the wrongs?
No, I think this is, he came up against a guy with a high work rate and was just, no, I thought that was the best Zerdo we've seen, and I thought Billam Smith was really good in the fight anyway. He'll pick on all the negative stuff, but I thought he boxed really well. He just
styles make fights back.
Yeah, he did, no, you can only do what you can do to an extent only, and I thought he was good.
Zerdo's a nice boxer, a lot of movement, skillful, and taps around, and it's very, very difficult, as we said before. So I don't think he should be too hard on himself from the Zerdo fight. I just think, you know, there's more things for him to do in the sport.
But when you think your journey's not finished, as Chris certainly thinks his journey's not finished, you know, there's a lot of work to do, and he'll want to get back in.
Well, here is the gentleman himself, Mr. Chris Billam Smith. Chris, so good to see you. I want to ask you about the mindset heading into this fight, getting back to winning ways. How have you found that in preparation for this one?
Yeah, it's overcoming the loss the first few weeks, so then it's just about building on it and learning from it and improving, and that's all I ever do in a fight is just look to improve, look to learn, and become a better fighter.
What have you made of the energy from Brandon Glanton? I don't know if you could hear him. He was just stood right here, shouting out all sorts of profanities. Don't mind that. What have you made of this coming your way?
It's good fun. I love it just makes me. It makes him look a lot worse on Saturday night when I beat him. And apparently, I didn't shake his hand back in Bournemouth after I just won a world title at a football stadium. Tony knows what that's like, you know, winning a world title at a football stadium. On the way back, apparently, to change room, I didn't shake his hand, and I can't even remember seeing him, to be honest with you. It's all a bit of a blur, but yeah, look, I'll shake his hand when I beat him on Saturday night.
Ultimately, what do you believe will be the difference between the pair of you?
I think he's probably got punch power over me, but I think other than that, I think we will equal or better in every area. The speed, the intensity that I fight at. All of those things are a massive strength of mine, and I think that'll be the key.
And as always, Tony, in this cruiserweight mix, you're only one win away from being right back in that mix and in massive fights.
I touched upon it. Chris and Shane, consummate professionals, really good team, been together for a long time, and I just think that's the difference. At the level you've been at now, it shows, and in these kind of fights you will see it. As long as Chris is head fully on the job, he's not looking forward. I think he does a job here, he really does. But like I said, Glanton, his game, as I said, shown by going to Russia, that 11th round victory, it shows he's not here as a passenger. He's here to claim what he believes is rightfully is. We've just heard him there with the profanities. It's going to, listen, you've been around it now, champ, long enough. You know what it's all about. Yeah. And he's trying to get under your skin. Probably once you're going in there a little bit erratic, I don't think much gets to you, mate, to be honest.
Yeah. Look, all of that is just part of it, and like you said, it's just it motivates me, all that sort of talk and everything. I'm not a trash talker myself, so
you've been through so much, Chris. You've been through so much.
Yeah.
From a boxing perspective, from a life perspective, that these minor things, I can imagine they don't mean anything to you, champ.
Yeah, it's just it's irrelevant. So yeah.
A quick one, Chris. Just get your thoughts on this matchup elsewhere in the cruiserweight division. Chev Clark and Vidal Riley. What do you make of this? How do you see it going?
Yeah, I can't pick a winner. I think they're both at a crossroads. Chev's obviously come off the back of a defeat last time out, but Vidal hasn't boxed at that level or yet. So yeah, it's an interesting fight, and I think it'd be really, really interesting to see how they both adapt and come on. It's a big stage for Vidal. I think it's his biggest fight by a long way. Obviously, he's been preparing for a Chamberlain fight, which has never come to fruition, but which will put him in good stead, just preparing for that sort of fight, because it's the similar sort of level with Chev and Isaac. But yeah, a really interesting fight.
Chris, thanks very much for joining us. No doubt you've got about 1 million interviews to do down there, so we'll let you go.
Thank you very much.
Best of luck on the weekend if we don't get a chance to speak to you beforehand. Top man, Chris Billam Smith. Gentlemen, that's the nickname of Chris Billam Smith, and that is very accurate. Vidal Riley in the ring currently, as Chev Clark makes his way into the building as well. I don't know if you could hear, Barry, what Brandon Glanton was shouting.
I didn't see something, but
it wasn't very PG. But keep your eyes out on his own socials for that one, because that was fiery, and that's the opener. Chris Billam Smith versus Brandon Glanton from 5 p.m. on DAZN. And as we say, sticking with the cruiserweight division, another cracker on Saturday night to look forward to. Many believe this one could steal the show. Vidal Riley here, 27 years old, a massive Tottenham fan as well. What a moment, Tony, for him at the home of Tottenham.
Not many are bragging about being a massive Tottenham fans like me, bragging about everything, but I am bragging these days. Don't worry about it. Yeah, big club. You know.
A fairy tale moment for him, though.
Oh, nothing makes it amazing. He'll find one of the best nights of his life. It really is. It's one of them. It's unbelievable, mate. I can't put it into words. So yeah, he's been going the game all his life. He's a huge fan. Then this is going to be extra special to him.
Yeah, he says this is his destiny. Barry says he deeply means that. He just needs to deliver on Saturday night. You talked about the social media presence yesterday. He worked with KSI and the mega fight over in America as his trainer for that fight with Logan Paul, and shot to stardom, didn't he, really, on the back of that one. But he's doing things the right way here, picked up that English title, and I guess proving to certainly anyone who doubted the ability that he's a serious fighter.
Well, he chose the hardest route. You know, he could have gone the YouTube route or the Misfits route, and then ironically, maybe more money with easier fights. I don't know, but you know, he was a boxer before he was a YouTuber. Let's not forget that, and a well-decorated amateur at that. And you talk to people who were in the GB or the England squad with him, and they'll tell you how talented apparently he really was. As a pro, I think he's had a really good career. I think he had the right development fights. He's looked really good. You know, he's starting to develop his power, sitting on his punches a little bit more. But his boxing skills are fantastic. He moves around very light on his feet for a big fella. His jab's really good. He's calm as well when someone tries to attack him. He doesn't rush his work. You know, I think he's been good. I think he's been very, very good. Mikel Lawal was the fight before last, which he got rid of him quite conclusively. That was a really good win. He boxed Garb in his last fight, who was a heavyweight, and he got rid of him in a couple of rounds. So, you know, this is a man full of confidence. Where on the other hand, Chev Clark, who looked like he was going to go right straight to the top, very, very on a quick route. So they matched him very, very aggressively and very, very confidently. You know, came up a little bit short in his last fight against a good fight in a tough, hard fight. So he might have a little bit of self-doubt. I don't know if he will, but possibly. And it might be just the right time for Vidal Riley to strike.
All he needs to be ready for, Tony, on Saturday, facing a fighter like Chev, who, like you say, is bang up for this. He knows he has to win as well.
Once again, like I said before, crossroads fight, but ultimately for Chev, difficult, because he'll have questions of himself. No, am I good enough? Can I do it? Can I take a shot? There's so many different things, questions. For me personally, I just think Chev Clark has so much ability and talent, and aesthetically, physically, he's brilliant. I just think his biggest demon and his biggest opponent is himself. I think he's that good, but he's just, for whatever reason, I think he might overthink things sometimes when he's in that boxing ring. He tries to be a bit too clever. Just let your hands go. You have all the ability and athleticism that you could wish for. Go and do it. As for Vidal, I haven't seen as much of him as others, but I do know he has great potential. I do know, you know, this kid is not a joke. I mean, they talk about with the Misfits thing and stuff like that. He's a real talent. And he shouldn't be overlooked, and it speaks volumes that he's willing to take this fight, because let's just be honest, Chev was just fighting for the European title, and that's close to world level. It really is. So for Vidal to be taking this fight on, it shows you what he believes in himself and how far he thinks he can go himself, and that's the biggest thing.
I would say though, Riley is only 2 fights away from that anyway. I think, you know, because he's literally that close to a British title shot, I would think, which usually, especially in this year, I mean, it's one more fight, and then you are boxing for the European title.
Do you think he's bypassing levels though, Barry?
Well, I think everyone does nowadays. Yeah. I think that's how it works. But I think the Mikel Lawal fight proved that he's certainly good enough to fight for a British title.
Yeah, Mikel's a strong boy.
Yeah, and so, you know, I mean, Chev's a bit more than that, of course, but you know, Chev can be sometimes lazy at times, and if he is, you know, a boxer of the ability here of Riley will make him pay for that. So I think it's a really interesting fight.
Well, Vidal Riley has joined us in the studio here. Vidal, great to see you. This is, I guess, you've called it destiny up on the stage there, and that brought a smile to everyone's face. We can see the Tottenham hoodie at the home of Tottenham Hotspur to fight for the British title. What does this whole occasion mean?
You know, that's just a bonus. Fighting at home, it does something to you. You know, you can either let it crumble you, or you can help it make you. You know what I mean? It happens. But to me, I'm not really thinking about the arena right now or the fact it's home. Chev is enough to think about. I will watch that at home after and be like, I did that. But at this moment in time, I'm just ready to put hands on him.
What makes you think this has all come at the right time through 12 fights of a professional journey?
I believe in energy, higher energy, you know, and you can have your wave, you can miss your wave. I think right now, this is the right time. This British title fight could be anywhere. It could be against someone that supports any team, but it's against an Arsenal fan.
It's a North London derby, our very own North London derby.
I'm from the area, not just from Tottenham, but from the area, and I get an opportunity to win my first major professional title there. I just need to fulfill my destiny.
Tony, you're a big fan. Vidal Riley.
Listen, I think you've got so much ability and talent, and it's untapped. We don't know yet. You haven't had a... This is your breakout fight. This is your breakthrough fight against someone who's just been for the European title. Do you feel, with the opponents that you've had in the past, this is a couple of steps in one fight? It's a couple of jumps in levels. Obviously, you feel like you're ready for it, and that speaks volumes to someone like me who's been a fighter, and like Barry. We're thinking you believe in yourself because you're happy to jump them levels. You didn't need a make-weight fight in between the levels. You're happy to jump the 2 levels.
I think the only way a fighter reaches their full potential is throwing themselves in those tests. You can get stale, man, like it's a real thing. You wait too long and maybe I'm not ready yet, you're never going to be ready. The way you get ready is having these opponents. They make you ready. Shev's going to be someone who brings the best out of me. And that's exactly what I need at this time. I'm 27 years old, not the oldest, not the youngest. Right age to be British champion. And then to show Shev's age on the day.
What do you make of this, man? Sorry, Barry, go on.
You've shown a bit more strength, I think, in your last few fights, where you've always been, knocking people out at the lower level. But when you stepped up a few levels, you started to show a bit more maturity. Is that something you've been working on? Because your boxing ability was in the back.
Yeah.
Now you're showing a bit, sitting down your punches a little bit more.
Of course, we always want to improve. We always want to become a better professional. Sometimes being an elite amateur, it takes you long to transition into the pro game, but I've not only got naturally stronger based on aging, reaching towards my peak, but just grinding, man. Just working hard in the gym and just embracing it.
Do you think that's going to be important in this fight? Because even though you're the boxer out of the two, you're still going to have to hold your ground at some point. Do you think that strength's going to come into play here?
It's a 12-round fight. I expect him to create that where I'm going to have to show I can stand and fight. It's not my job to give him what he wants. He has to do enough to prove that he can make me do it.
What are the dangers, Vidal, for you in this fight against a fighter like Shev, who's going through his paces here just behind you?
No, Shev, very experienced, amateur and professional. Had good opponents. His last couple fights is where we started to see a bit more vulnerabilities in him. But even in those fights where he showed vulnerability, he showed endurance. He showed the ability that even if I do I can go through the thunder. I can pull the win out. And that's why I know it's going to be a challenge.
It tells you everything you need to know. When Vidal's telling you he knows it's a challenge, and that means he's prepared right. He knows what he's going into. This isn't a fight where he goes, I'm walking and I know I'm going to do a job. He's understood the challenge and he's accepted it. And as a fighter, that means you're going to see the best of both. Shev knows now this is a crossroads fight for Shev. Shev's in a position now where he's vulnerable. He's not hunting no more. He's now the prey. And you've got to start winning again to become the hunter again. And that's the hard part in boxing. There's the hunter and there's the prey. It's hard to switch that angle.
Final one, Vidal, just before we let you go. How do you see yourself beating this man on Saturday? What have you seen in your mind? No doubt it's played out many times.
Well, I just have to be Vidal Riley, man. That's it. What that means, I'll show on Saturday night, but I just have to be myself.
Vidal, sorry to have you two sparred together?
We sparred a couple of times at the start of our pro careers.
Okay.
We knew that inevitably we'd meet, so we couldn't get too close. But that's sparring. That's sparring. I just have to be myself on Saturday night. That will show what.
You've had a feel for each other, though.
Yeah. Great stuff. But I wish you the very best of luck on Saturday night. What a fight that is for the cruiserweight British title. Back to Thomas in the ring.
Our next two fighters competing this Saturday in a scheduled 12-round contest. It will be for the vacant WBA International Middleweight Championship. Let's first welcome, coming to us from Monaghan, Ireland. He brings an undefeated record with 19 wins, 10 of his 19 wins coming by way of knockout. Let's welcome the relentless, undefeated fighter known as the Silencer, Aaron McKenna.
Here he is then. The Silencer, 19-0, Aaron McKenna. And as we talked about yesterday, said he will silence any doubters tomorrow night. Anyone who believes that this is a step too far at this stage of his career. Fight number 20 for the Irishman. Tony, when you look at this matchup on paper, firstly, when you're fighting a fighter like Liam Smith, who tells us he is at his very best here ahead of Saturday night, what must you be prepared for?
Good luck.
There is Liam Smith making his way just in front of Tony Bellew. But if Liam is at his best, how good will Aaron McKenna have to beat him?
You okay?
You're busy talking to other people, isn't he?
Sorry, no Samba from the rival, the gloves, amazing gloves. Listen, this boy is here on potential. This boy isn't here because of what he's shown us or because of who he's beaten. Liam Smith is here because of who he's beaten and the way he's done it, and the fact that he's a former world champion. So they're hoping to get Liam at the right time. I don't think they will, because Liam doesn't need to be in the game. Liam's in the game because he still has a point to prove and he wants big fights and thinks he can win big fights. But McKenna is a problem. Tall southpaw. Listen, he's bigger than I thought he was. So he's a problem. He is not a problem. But listen, Liam doesn't have any problem fighting southpaws. He closes the distance really well. Has a cracking right hand over the top. So this makes for a really, really good fight. I think this is the sleeper on the bill. I think because people don't know McKenna and who he is and what he's about, I think people are just letting it slide by. Liam will always get in the ring and give it everything. So I expect a really good fight, and I expect Liam Smith to show, you know, why he's been a world champion and why he's still at this level.
Is this a good or a bad time on paper to fight Liam Smith, Barry, in your opinion, after that Eubank defeat and, of course, with the 19 months out?
It's a good time to box him because he's in his late 30s and you can't say close to the end of his career. You have to say that, whatever it is. So, but rather fight him now than box him 6-7 years ago. But I mean, you know, McKenna's tall, just southpaw, he can punch, and he's busy. There's nothing like that. So for a guy, you know, later on in his career, you know, past the 35 mark, there's always going to be that's always going to be an issue. But what he's going to be careful is that busyness, that aggression, and him looking to get the killer blow on Liam Smith doesn't get him into trouble, because what Liam Smith does really well is slide in the distance quick. You know, he slides in, throws that left hook, the uppercut, left hook over the top. You know, he's very good with doing that. So for me, McKenna has to be long and busy, but also not reach over that front foot, not get too involved, especially early in the rounds when he's going to try to make Liam Smith work hard.
Well, joining us in the studio now is Mr. Aaron McKenna. Aaron, not long to go now. How's the mindset this week? Big stage as well.
Yeah, it's been incredible so far. What an event to be part of, and I want to make the most of it. It's been so far so good. It's been a long training camp, but I feel it's my time now.
In terms of the face-off, yesterday Liam came straight in here and he said that he's already seen a little kink in your armour, because he said you were playing the mental game, trying to get him to look away early from the face-off. What was going through your mind when you looked head-to-head on that stage?
It's the fight game. I've been doing it since my very first fight, so I'll not change for anyone. That's my way of doing things, and it's the hurt business. You know, come Saturday night, I'm in there to fight, and he's in there to fight too, and I think we're both going to bring it, and it's going to be an exciting fight.
Big fan of this matchup, Barry Jones?
No, I am, yeah, because, you know, quite often, you know, you got the guy full of experience who's boxable level against the young guy who hasn't been there yet. They're on his way up. There's been done nothing wrong. They're really impressive, but this is a massive step up in class. And is it the passing of the baton, or is it too early? All these questions make this a really exciting fight. Plus, when you hear the name McKenna, whether it's him and his brother or the other Tyrone McKenna, you guarantee the war. This is the way they fight. It is. They wear their heart on their sleeve. They're value for money. They're exciting, and there's nothing they won't do to get the win.
In terms of what you're in there against, and in terms of proving those doubters wrong, as Barry said, is this a step too soon? No doubt you'll have your own thoughts on that, Aaron, but Liam as a fighter, how aware are you of the challenge here?
Yeah, well, I know how good he is, and I'm expecting the best version of him to turn up Saturday night. That's the one I want. I want him coming in his prime, you know, the one that won the world title, the one that beat Chris Eubank. It was only 2 fights ago where he knocked out Chris Eubank, so I'm expecting the best version of him to turn up, and that's the one I need to get the respect of people.
You see this as a bit of a breakthrough night for you, certainly in terms of stage and opponent, I guess?
Yeah, definitely. I realise what this does for my career. I'm doing it on the biggest stage. A lot of eyes are going to be on this event, and I intend to do the job and make a statement.
And in terms of that main event, I've heard you talk about Chris Eubank Jr. as well in some recent interviews. How do you see that unfolding? I'm asking everyone who's coming in here.
Yeah, it's a hard one to call because Conor's moving up 2 weight divisions. Will his power have an effect on Chris? I think he has to come out very fast, very sharp, and make Chris Eubank work early on and break him down. But that's only if his power is going to have an effect on him, and I think if it does, he could get the job done. If not, then you'd lean more towards Eubank, but it's a very interesting fight.
No doubt there, Naren, a win for you here, just finally. You're right in that middleweight mix for a shot at the World Championship. How do you see yourself clearing this hurdle against Liam Smith on Saturday? What happens in the ring?
Yeah, well, I'm just fully focused on Liam Smith, the fight that's in front of me Saturday night, but I understand what it does for me. You're entitled nearly to fight anyone in the world in the middleweight division. You have the main event there too, the winner of them, so it's very, very exciting times ahead.
Great stuff, Aaron. Wish you the very best of luck.
Thanks very much.
On Saturday night. Go well, enjoy the week. A man who's full of confidence, Barry Jones, Aaron McKenna.
Yeah, so he should be. You know, like he's had a really good career. There's nothing wrong. He's great to watch, by the way. And of all the fighters on the bill, he's the one who can box with loads of freedom because no one's really giving him much of a chance, unless you're thinking that Liam Smith's past his sell-by date. That's the only reason you're going to give him a chance. So you're going to go with what you know, which is Liam Smith, you know, is the more dominant and the box at the highest level. So McKenna can just box freely. But to be honest, him and his brother do that anyway. They box like they're just the first. It's their first and their last fight of their career. They're just so committed to their attack. So there's jeopardy in that fight.
Championship. Let's first welcome from Manchester, England, his professional record, 24 wins, 2 defeats, 16 of his 24 wins coming by way of knockout. He is the former IBO light heavyweight champion of the world, Lyndon King Arthur.
Well, Liam Smith has said throughout the build-up that he wants the winner of that main event. Of course, the fight with Conor Benn is one that's been spoken about for a while. The trilogy with Chris Eubank Jr. certainly there. And speaking of trilogies, we have one to look forward to on Saturday night in the light heavyweight division. What a time to be at 175 pounds as well. December 2020 split decision went the way of this man, Lyndon Arthur. April 12th, the rematch in 2021. Anthony Yarde won that fight in the 4th round. Is this a fight, Tony Bellew, that you thought we would see, or is it one that took you by surprise a little bit?
It did take me by surprise, to be honest. I mean, I thought the matter was dealt with because, you know, the rematch was so conclusive, but, you know, on paper, the 1-1, so you know, obviously there is some kind of want and need and a demand, probably from Yarde's side, to clean this up. I don't think Lyndon was in a negotiating position, so I think this is down to Anthony Yarde wanting to clear this up and get the 3rd fight done. But it's a dangerous fight for Anthony Yarde to take, purely for the fact of he has everything to lose and nothing to gain here, Anthony Yarde, and I think that's a dangerous position and place to be in. So for me, Lyndon Arthur's coming in here with no expectation on his shoulders, nothing really to worry about, and he's been in with this guy twice, not once. So will he learn from his mistakes? Will he, you know, will he go in there with the same game plan that he had for the first fight? I think ultimately it's all in Anthony Yarde's hands, because, as I say, the reverse fixture, the last fight, was so conclusive, in my opinion, that, you know, it rests with how he wants to play it out.
Yeah, they both know more about each other now, of course, and certainly that gives Anthony Yarde the upper hand. But also, you have to say, Anthony Yarde's last performance wasn't anywhere near a peak Anthony Yarde. No, he wasn't good at all. But added with that, even though, you know, and of course he had 2 or 3 fights after the Bibble fight here, Lyndon Arthur, and he hasn't looked fantastic either. I think Lyndon Arthur is one of these fighters who's technically very good. He gets praised for his jab because it comes out nice and smooth, but also he coasts fights too long, and that can get you into trouble. That's a bad habit to get into, and I think if he tries to do that with with Anthony Yarde, even in seconds of that one, he's going to get into trouble. So this is all. I think this is the fight they both need, because Anthony Yarde knows he can hurt him now, so he's going to come out fast like the old Anthony Yarde. And Lyndon Arthur needs a fight where there's real fear, so he can't do that coasting. He can get back to what he was, real sharp counter puncher who frustrates you. So and also they've both been beat by the current top two in the world with Beterbiev and Bivol. So a win from either one will put them back in our conversation, maybe for another world title shot when those titles do inevitably fragment.
Yeah, when you look at the top of the 175-pound division right now, Tony, obviously Bivol and Beterbiev look like they're on course for a trilogy. Benavidez and obviously Callum Smith as well. The winner of this, there's some massive domestic fights to be made, particularly Joshua Buatsi. That fight with Yarde's always been spoken about.
He needs a way back in. And listen, it was a great fight that he gave Callum. There's no shame in coming up short against a world-class elite fighter like Callum Smith. So, he'll be looking for a weapon. This isn't the end for either fighter, but I must stress, it's a long way back for the loser.
It is, because, and more importantly, especially for Anthony Yarde, who's used to be going in, except for his world title shot, as an A-side, he'll start being in negotiations with Buatsi or certainly Callum Smith as not the A-side anymore, and that's going to be different where your motivation, because especially financially, you're going to start thinking, is this worth my time? But Anthony Yarde's a funny fighter, because as good as he's been, we praise him for the two defeats, because he performed so well in those defeats.
When you look at the names he's been in with, Tony, Anthony Yarde, obviously Beterbiev, Kovalev, what have you always admired about his mentality?
It's his attitude to want to get back in there and test himself against the absolute best. And he believes in himself, and I do think he's got a lot of ability. Athletically, he's very, very good. It's difficult. He's come across two exceptional fighters, and he's lost, and it is what it is. But I think it obviously eats at him, the loss to Lyndon Arthur. I think it doesn't sit right with him, and he's here to put this straight once and for all. He wants it to be known that it's not 1-1 between us. I'm going to put you, I'm going to put you to the sword, basically. So I just think it's one of them. It obviously doesn't sit right with him, because he didn't go into immediate rematches, or he didn't go into matches whatsoever with the likes of Kovalev or Beterbiev. Maybe it was out of his hands. This one obviously isn't. So it's an interesting fight. As Barry touched on before, Lyndon Arthur has a fantastic jab, can frustrate you from range, but then he has that slow, pedantic style that can be so frustrating. If he was his trainer, you'd want to strangle him. But he has the ability to frustrate Anthony Yarde. If Anthony Yarde lets Lyndon Arthur get into that rhythm, it'll be a long night for him.
Anthony Yarde, most of his career, because he has crazy power, he has real power, we just wait for the opportunity to arise and then pounce on it. But what he did in the second fight with what's his name? Lyndon Arthur. That's a nice one. He created the opportunity. That's the difference. He didn't wait for it. He created it, and he realised it, and that's what he have to do. Against Kovalev, he was too green for that fight, and he had one great round where he almost got Kovalev out there. But apart from that, he struggled. He was competing, but he was struggling. In the end, he was just too exhausted. Against Beterbiev, he was brilliant.
He was, yeah.
He just came up against a fight that was just too good, too strong, but he was absolutely fantastic. And I saw so much star potential in that defeat. And he never made no excuses either, and I loved him for that. He just went, I tried my best, and it wasn't good enough. And that you have to admire.
Same, I've got love for Anthony. A lot of love for Anthony. And I've got a lot of love for Lyndon Arthur and his team as well, with Pat Barrett. And I think they're all good people, but I just think he's at that, he's at that edge. He's at that, just at the level, and he just needs to get it over the line. Just needs the right opponent.
Can I say about Anthony Yarde? When he boxed Kovalev, he was offered massive step aside money, pretty much the same as his purse, which is mega money, to take us a step aside so Kovalev could box Canelo, so Canelo could win the light heavyweight title, and also he would have got a guaranteed shot at the then the vacant title. It would have been, because Canelo would have vacated it, and he would have won a world title in the UK and got 2 paydays, and he said no. I want to watch Kovalev in Russia, by the way. And I always thought, that's a real fighter. Stupid, but a real fighter.
Yeah, but it's youth. Only experience. And
we all would have done the same thing. You said, no, I'm taking the fight that's there. And I've always loved him for that, because that's a real fighter. He wanted to fight the best at that time, who was, at that time, Sergei Kovalev.
Yeah, I bumped into Anthony Yarde in Saudi Arabia. He was over in Riyadh for the Bivol Beterbiev rematch, and he was very disappointed that Joshua Buatsi had lost to Callum Smith. Can you understand why?
Yeah, but I mean, people inside the game, a lot of them predicted it. I did. But people say, oh, you've got your scouts out on.
You get it from his perspective, though, that's
still
a big fight
want
in
it.
London.
No, it's still. I want to see Joshua Buatsi and Anthony Yarde.
Because Buatsi, even though he got beat by the better fighter against Callum Smith, and he did, he still showed plenty of good stuff. So I think he's not as if he got absolutely blasted out of there. So he can come again, Buatsi, and also Yarde has been beat as well. So it's. I think it's still a good, marketable, makeable fight for both. It's just they're not the both undefeated forces coming up when they were taunted before. That's all. And also the favourite maybe changes a little bit now than it did when it was originally announced, in 2017 or something.
He's a really good fighter. Like I say, just fell a bit short. And listen, I've been there at light heavyweight. I get it, I feel it, but he's just been unfortunate because let's make no mistake about it. There's been world champions at light heavyweight he beat comfortably. And what Barry just told me, I never knew that. To take that, to want to do that and not just wait and get paid twice. I'll be mega money.
It was mega money.
Fair play to him. It tells me everything I needed to know about Anthony Yarde, where his hunger is, how much he wants it, what he actually believes in himself, Jay. He believes in himself, and the best thing about believing himself is it comes to a stage where, listen lad, are you going to back yourself? And he backed himself. Doesn't matter if he come up short, he's willing to back himself, especially in the Lions Den as well.
Bear in mind, you're going to have everyone else in your camp, your promoter, Frank Warren, was, they're all saying, take the money and then you'll be a guaranteed world champion in 4 months' time? And he went, no, I'm here, I want to do it here. And by the way, it wasn't just Russia, it was Chelyabinsk, which is Kovalev's hometown. So, it was like the worst place you could go to try and win a world title. And the ring was the spongiest ring you've ever seen in your life. Everything favoured Kovalev that night.
He nearly got rid of him. Everyone likes to go, it was a show. He's a strong boy on here, Kovalev.
Yeah, but he lost everything else.
No, I agree.
We have to be honest.
But you've got to understand, nobody. That was his first shot at that level.
He was green, like I said at the start. He was green before. He really shouldn't have been in there.
He's learned an awful lot from them. Like I said, him and Joshua Buatti's a great fight. Callum Smith, I believe, is on the verge. I mean, it's obviously going to be
Benavidez fight.
Benavidez and Callum Smith.
That's a fight.
That's a proper fight. But Callum, what you've seen against Buatsi, can control the fight, can control the distance, can control the narrative of the actual fight. He's so good at what he does, and then being 6'4", these guys have all got this thing. Oh, he's not going to be able to fight up close. Oh, the boy can fight inside. The boy's got everything. He always has done. Once again, he's come across Ring Magazine champions, Lanil champions, great fighters, legends in the game. It's just unfortunate that's how it goes.
The likes of Ben Whittaker will have his eyes on a fight like this as well.
Well, he's not quite there yet, but another 12-18 months, how quick the landscape changes in world boxing. This top 10 division now in the world of world light heavyweight, top 15, is like a lucky dip. Any name you pick out, you can match with the other one, and it's a great fight.
When you brought Ben Whittaker up there, I must stress, I thought he'd done amazing coping with the pressure of Sunday night, because we've been there as fighters. That's the first time in his life his career's been on the line, Jay. His career's on the line walking to the ring on Sunday night, and emotions come out of you. And I know, because I've been there 4 or 5 occasions walking to the ring knowing I lose to them, my career's done. And it's so difficult to not become, and he was emotionally invested as well. So I give him enormous amount of credit, and Liam and Cameron as well. I give him so much credit because the way he conducted himself and carried himself, two brilliant displays. And I'm not talking about what happened after the fight. That's just pure emotion. That's just being a fighter. That's just living it and breathing it and putting your life and heart and soul into the fight game. That's what that was on Saturday.
But again, Tony, it goes back, and like when we touched on top of the bill, coping with pressure. So, I mean, whether it's internal or external pressure, if you can cope with it and manage it, then it no longer becomes pressure, or it fuels you, or it makes you a little bit sharper, or it can smother you and you crumble. And you might not know, people don't notice it, but inside you're going crazy. And you see people with more ability than other people just not be able to perform under the pressure.
Well, I do believe we are going to be joined by Mr. Anthony Yarde. And I think we can probably ask him that same question. Was this, look, it is one apiece, but was this a fight that he felt like he needed to bury the hatchet and draw a line under?
Yeah, I think he might say yes, but I don't think it was. Like Tony said, it was so conclusive, the second fight, that it goes on, and there was never a question about who's the better fighter. So But, you know, I just think the opportunity to box on this bill, I think that's all it is. Stay busy. And also, because his last performance was slightly underwhelming, I think you want to show that he still has what he had previously, what made him the fighter that made us all excited about him on the way up.
Absolutely. Well, he is wearing an Arsenal shirt as well. Let's see if he keeps that on Saturday night. Anthony Yarde is in the house. I just said there, wearing the Arsenal kit. Is that going to stay on Saturday?
We'll wait and see.
Ruffle a few feathers.
Wait and see.
Straight off the bat, Anthony, I mean, look, it's one apiece with you at Lyndon.
Yeah.
Was this always on the horizon for you, or when the fight was offered to you, what was your initial response?
No, and that's what I'm trying to say. This is why I'm excited for this fight, because you see that one apiece thing, it gets to me, because, again, in the first fight happened, it was behind closed doors during COVID. I had 4 deaths in my family, my dad being one of them, both grandparents, and I still took the fight with a mentality, you're meant to be professional, And then that's why the second fight, I come out like that. This fight, I can't lie, it's probably going to be worse, because that thing, 1-1, he won a split decision, that's on my record forever. So the second fight, it's like I've eliminated that. I'm just,
I said to these guys, I said, this is happening probably because you wanted to happen, because the second fight was so conclusive that there was no need to do. But I just said before you come on, literally, I said, this must itch you. This must be that thing that goes, I need to put him straight. I need to literally deal with this 1-1 thing. And it's worked out. It's right. It's been on your man's well. But it was so conclusive, Anthony, in the second fight. There was levels. But your plan is to go in there and just do the exact same again? I mean, he's obviously going to be aware this time.
Of course, and I feel like he was aware last time. It's just that he couldn't, there's nothing he could do to stop it. I understand boxing, like, you've been interviewing me for years now, and he's been telling me about little things or whatever, so I always listen. I'm not going to go in there with a mentality, I'm just going to do it again. You get what I'm saying? You've been there. I'm not going to go in there with a mentality, I'm just going to knock him out again. I'm just going to be the best version of myself. And again, this is another stage in my career where I'm still learning. I've got a lot of knockouts, but I want to keep learning how to knock people out. So I'll say it, my aim is to win by knockout. I like entertainment, but I'm not going to go out there just swinging while looking for a knockout.
Your preparation leads are there, though. Your preparation, what you've done, people don't realise is what you've done in the gym leads to what happens on Saturday night. And what's going on. See, this is the thing with boxing. Everyone just thinks we turn up on fight night and that's how it's been. What you've gone through in that first fight with Lyndon Arthur in the camp, in the background, no one sees that, no one knows that. And that's the managing things away from boxing is sometimes the hardest part. And if he's dealt with that side, Barry, you know you've been there yourself.
I wanted to ask you, Andy, you just mentioned versions. What version are you now? Do you know yourself now more than ever before? You create the opportunities rather than wait for the opportunities to stop it, Do you think this is the best version of you because of the experiences you've had? Or?
I think so. I think it is definitely the best version of me so far, or to this date. Because again, what you said, experience. Like, I feel like if I fought Kovalev now, I'll beat him. If I'm even better beat him, even though it wasn't that long ago, I feel like if I fight him again, I'll beat him. Again, I was ahead on the scorecard. I got caught with a shot because I got fatigued and I kept playing. I started playing into his game. So again, experience plays a massive part, a massive, massive part.
Anthony, we look forward to hearing more from you at tomorrow's press conference. We wish you the best of luck.
Thank you,
on
man.
Saturday night.
Come on.
Top man, a fired up Anthony Yarde. Well, there you go, gents. That answered our question. That one apiece was eating away Anthony Yarde.
You could feel it off him as well, couldn't you?
He's up for this.
Frustrated that loss, that he doesn't feel like it's a genuine loss.
Because when I said that in the build-up, I thought, it must eat, because I've been in them positions, it used to eat away at me. I'm better than this guy, how's he beat me? But when you listen to the, not excuses because they're valid reasons, but when you listen to the valid reasons, what's going on in someone's life in the background, listen, it's hard.
And that was real, but that's true, by the way. It's not
he lost a lot of people.
This is talk about pressure now for this young man here.
Here we go then, Conor Benn. One half of Saturday's main event. Says he has a huge chip on his shoulder, a massive point to prove. You've been around him, Tony, since the start of his journey. That point to prove, that chip on the shoulder, is that something that's not really changed?
Do you know what, we laugh and we joke with together. He says I'm the angriest man he knows, and I say I must be second after you. But he's such a lovely, kind-hearted young man. I've got a lot of love for Conor. Listen, and I've got an awful lot of respect for Eubank Jr. I just think this young lad's been through so much, and when he gets in that ring, it's time to show it and let it go. I just hope he can control them emotions that are going through his body when it comes to Saturday night, because that, in my opinion, will be the definitive factor on Saturday night. Who can control them emotions the best? And that doesn't mean that he doesn't go nuts and let his hands go. That might be what he's training, that might be the game plan. But whatever he's been training for, he's got to follow it exactly to the book. Exactly to the book.
There's a lot of similarities when we talk about proving doubters wrong, isn't there, between these two guys, between Chris and Conor, Barry?
Yeah, of course it is. I mean, I tell you what though, let's go back to his dad about proving people wrong, because his dad, before he boxed Eubank the first time, got beat by Michael Watson. Now Eubank was Nigel Benn was destroying everybody. The angriest man you've ever met in your life. He used to scream when he knocked him out. He was loved and hated in equal measure by the boxing fans, but everyone wanted to watch him. And then when he boxed Michael Watson covered up and then just weathered the storm and then stopped him quite easily in the end. Knocked him over the jab because he was exhausted. Nigel Benn went to America and rebuilt. He'd be doped with for the WBO title. He brought the WBO title over to the UK pretty much by himself. But then he also beat Iran Barkley in the States. He came back then, he rebuilt, he came back, he proved the people wrong. And then when he boxed Chris Eubank Sr., who was a massive underdog at the time, he just followed the character, was totally polarising. And Eubank Sr. was a massive underdog. No one gave him a chance against Nigel Benn. And they produced one of the best fights the British ring have ever seen. That's the truth of it. But Eubank prevailed on his chin and his smarts. Now, what Conor has to do in this fight is be massively aggressive, massively angry. I keep saying it. He has to be that, but it has to be effective aggression. He can't be wild with it. Otherwise, he'll pay the price. He will be exhausted after 7-8 rounds if he doesn't get it right. But if he gets it right, you got an older man there who doesn't punch like he used to, and he could get him on the heels, under pressure, and maybe panicking, and maybe get that stoppage. But I think it's a big ask for him. I really do.
You mentioned that Iran Barkley fight. That was just down the road from where Conor Benn had his last fight, of course.
Yeah.
And he went 12 rounds for the first time. And look, he said he wanted to knock Peter Dobson out in one round. But the fact he went the full 36 minutes, do you think that'll be something he's pretty happy with now headed into this week?
No, not really, because they're just average performances. Listen, we can't dress up, just got to tell you that it is. They were average performances, and they went to the high standard he'd been setting beforehand. But ultimately, he won. And when you're winning on not good nights, it tells you everything you need to know about the fighter. If you can win on average nights and win well, as he done, wasn't a good performance. Like I said, it was average, but he won well. You know, it wasn't close.
You know, my trainer used to have a saying. He's from Trinidad, and he used to say, better to win ugly than to lose pretty. So ultimately, winning is everything. So, and Tony's right. Once you win, winning is an art in itself, and it's a habit, by the way. So you know, because it changes your mind. You know what? Even when you don't win, even when you box underperform, and you still get that win, it means you can find your way through.
Believe you me, when he gets in the ring on Saturday night, he will be so sharp. It will be like it's two different people. What was in against Dobson and what's in again in the last two, but it will be it's a different animal. He'll be so sharp, so reactive, so his whole world is on this fight. And it's also the same with Chris Eubank Jr. The whole lives have brought them to this moment. Listen, no matter what they do after this, right, if they go on to win world title out, what? They're going to be remembered for what happens on Saturday night. This is their defining moment in their whole career. And it's very rare you can say that about a fighter that before it's happened, that you know this is their defining moment. I knew when mine was. Barry will have known when his was. He might not want to think it is right now. I might believe it, but believe you me, this is both their defining moments on Saturday night.
It's interesting to see what he's doing here, because I've been saying for the last few days, well,
what you've been saying.
How important it is to stay low. Yeah. But staying low takes a lot of energy, because it's all your legs. You got to bend those legs and engage those big muscles in your body. But to stay low gives you the opportunity to do this.
So explosive, buddy.
Like, there's a semicircle on the front of your body. So that's the area you have to master to win the fight. And for Conor to stay low and move around that semicircle in front of the body is going to be so important for him, because that won't allow Chris Jr. to set his feet. And with that means Conor can unload with his punches in a relatively safe place. Plus the angle of looking up, which means he can punch through the middle and use those legs to come through the shot rather than just throw the arms. And to do that, he'll knock Chris off balance.
So sharp. So sharp. And I don't say that because of the punches, because he's put nothing in them punches. It's the movement, it's the fluidity and the explosiveness off the legs. Like Barry talked about, it's so hard to get low. Mike Tyson used to do it perfectly, and against bigger guys you need to do it now. He goes in there with the Tyson approach. It's intriguing, and like I said before, Chris Eubank ain't holding this boy off for 6 rounds. The question for me is, can you absorb what he's going to give you in 6 rounds? That's the question.
But if he can't get Chris out there early, he has to do the hard work, but he is going to tire. But guaranteed, if he's going to do that, go low and explode in the shot, then Conor's going to tire, that's guaranteed.
No one can do it for 12.
But he's got to hope that his punches, or his aggression and his pressure tires Chris with him. Now, if he can do that, tire Chris also, then they're pretty much at the same level, so he can go out and be more successful. But if he can't tire Chris, if he can't intimidate him with the pressure, if the punches can't hurt him or make him panic, then after 7 rounds it does become a fight of 2 halves.
Do you think Chris can get tired in this fight?
Most definitely.
You can tire him out just by being on him.
Chris can't throw the punches he used to before. He has to box in spurts more. He always did, but more than ever before. He can't throw 15 punches anymore. You got to throw in 4s and 3s.
How many rounds do you think Conor Benn can be relentless for out to 12? 8, 9?
Well, I think
young.
He is young, but the way he explodes, and a bigger guy who could have maybe absorbed the shots, maybe not around the face, just around the body in general. If we're talking about bigger guys, they tend to swallow the punches a little bit better, and it depends how much how hard Conor hits, by the way, and that's the thing.
How do you expect the power to carry up then? On Saturday?
Just think I don't think
that's been the big question.
It's not the one-shot power for me; it's the explosiveness of the shot. You won't see the shot, and that for me is more than any amount of power. If you don't see it, you're just Jay. You've got to understand. Like, you've got no say. If you get hit with a punch you don't see, literally 2.5 pounds of square pressure on the right point, you go down. Like, that's not my opinion, that's science. If it hits the right spot, you just drop. Like, you open your eyes, your gloves are on the floor, you're down. And that's happened to me on a number of occasions, but I just think Chris Eubank Jr. is not going to hold them off.
But I can't see what does he do. See, Liam Smith backed Eubank against the ropes because Liam Smith's a more intimidating figure because he puts his chest over the front foot and he'll feint, but he'll slide forward and the front foot puts you under pressure. I'm not sure Conor doesn't have the same smarts as Liam Smith, in my opinion, so he's going to have to explode in the shots. So I'm not sure how he can get him back into the ropes because he'll jump into his attacks, which puts Chris on the back foot, but allows Chris to spin off and get back into the centre of the ring, possibly. Possibly. This is all like theoretically, we haven't got a clue.
One half of your main event, brought to you by Ring Magazine. Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves. Conor Benn makes his way into the studio. Braces, Tony Bellew. Conor, how are you, sir?
Yeah, good, mate.
Good to see you, mate. Very, very well. Beard's looking fantastic. Big smile on your face. How are you enjoying the whole occasion?
Mate, just lapping up. I'm enjoying it, man. Excited to be here. Excited to be back on these shores, man.
In terms of the energy that's come your way in the whole build-up, how have you dealt with that and all the verbals that have come from that man? If looks good, kill, by the way. But how have you dealt with all the energy that has come from Chris Eubank Jr.?
I don't think anything of it. I don't think nothing of it at all. You know, he's an opponent. That's it.
Barry?
Conor, we talk about fights like this. You know, all the training goes right for both. That you're fit and as strong as you could possibly be. It's pressure. Coping with pressure. How do you deal with that with yourself? Do you have some sort of mantra?
You'll know what pressure is. A 19-year-old kid moving from Australia to the UK, walking out to a packed O2 arena with no amateur background. That's pressure.
So do you draw on that?
Yeah, I mean, listen, ultimately every fighter dreams of getting to this stage.
Yeah.
You know, and I've worked extremely hard. This isn't 6 months' work. This isn't 6 weeks' work. This is 10 years. You know, and I've done it too many times now for it to be an accident or be a chance. This is who I am. I live for this, you know. So for me, I don't feel no pressure at all. You know, I'm going to go in there and do what I do.
How itching are you, Conor, to get in the ring on Saturday night?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I was fighting tonight. But it's just one of them things where this is all now just long. And I just want to get in there now. That's it, really, man.
We spoke to Eubank yesterday. You won't care what he says, but all he was saying was the procedure will be parliamentary, that he's a better fighter than you in every single department. This win on Saturday, truly, if all goes to plan for you, have you thought about that emotion and truly what this victory will mean to you and to the Benns?
I don't know what the question is, but I'll get hold of him at some stage. No, I'll get hold of him at some stage. I just didn't understand the question. No, ultimately, he's going to get it regardless.
Tony, in terms of this matchup, what are the big questions for you on Saturday night?
He's going to get to him, and you've got to be able to deal with what he's throwing, because he's going to be there. Like, people have said to me, what's this fight going to be like? And I've said, it can't be nothing but exciting, because Conor will go in and he will let his hands go, and there is nowhere to hide. And like I've said before, Chris has made out now that, you know, it's the second coming of him. He's a great boxer. He's actually not the best boxer. He's a better fighter than he is boxer. But that plays right into Conor's hands. For Conor, it's a case of get at him. Get at him and do what you've done in camp. He knows what he's done. He knows what he's ready for. And it all leads to this. Both of these know what's at stake on Saturday night. And I believe both are in fantastic shape. And it's just, listen, we all cannot wait now. And no one more so than Conor, no one more so than Chris. They both want to get their hands on each other. Conor's been waiting for a long time, and it's now finally here.
I tell you what though, Conor, you got to be thinking, I know you're focused on the fight, but you got to be thinking this is mad. You know, like a stadium fight, all this stuff.
Do you know what it is?
Different level.
Do you know what it is? 10 years ago, when I first turned pro, did I ever think I'd end up here? Nah. You know, but I am here. I'm built for it. I feel ready for it. I'm loving the challenge of fighting at 160. I'm loving the competition. You thrive off challenges. As a fighter, people are going to me, oh, are you not worried? Oh, are you know, how are you going to deal with it? You know, this is what I do. I prepare for this. I do everything I possibly can in the gym, in training, that fills me with confidence.
Yeah, but the fights, I mean, I don't doubt that for a second. The fighting's fighting, and you know what to do. But I mean, just the whole...
The occasion.
This is different. This is not even just pressure of a world title fight. This is bigger than that. It's not, no, it's not, you know what I mean? The whole media and everything else is just 24/7. It's got, I mean, I'm saying this is too much. I'm just saying how crazy it must feel.
And Saturday is going to be mega.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's another fight. That's how I'm looking at it. Is another opponent in my way, trying to crush my dreams, trying to take food off my plate and trying to render me unconscious. That's how I look at him.
What about the buzz?
Oh yeah, no doubt. No doubt. No doubt. I'll be like ready to go. Do you know what I mean? Like I get going, but I get myself going.
No, you know what? You said something really good. People said about you being angry. As you got under your skin, you look angry, and you said, "I'm angry all the time. This is me." I'm like,
it's always personal. When you get to know me, you'll realise I'm not angry all the time.
No.
But when it comes down to fighting, it's always personal.
But I was around when your dad boxed, Chris. I boxed on the undercard of the second fight, of course. But I mean, like, seeing you got your dad angry, but your dad was better angry. And then he could control his anger and make it effective.
You know what? When I say to my sparring partners before I spar them, I'll say, well, just work lightly. After the spar, they go lightly. But that's just the way I am.
Yeah.
It's the intensity. It's the I can't not punch without intensity.
You've been harnessing and using your advantage.
I can't.
Yeah.
I have to fight.
Do you think that's your superpower? That you can always get to that moment of I give it my all.
Yeah, every time.
It's not as easy as it sounds.
I don't. Every session for me is a session. I have no bad days. That's my theme for the camps. No bad sessions. Because I'm never getting that day back. Yes. You know when I wake up and I'm tired and I'm exhausted and I get to the gym and the numbers aren't adding up. Those are the sessions that count.
And do you know what, boys? Antonio know this. The night before the fight is when you lose the fight. And I'll tell you why, because if you skip training, something hasn't gone right, you've got an issue, when you go to bed, you can't sleep. And because of the fight itself. But if anything's wrong, that doubt creeps in. But if you've prepared like he's talking about, there is no doubt.
That's why he's so confident.
Yeah,
that's why he has to. You know, he knows what he's gone through. What he's gone through. I'm sorry, but getting in there's nothing. What he's gone through, what he's been through, it's nothing. It's a privilege. it's excitement. He's going to walk to the ring. He's going to be excited because what he's gone through in camp is horrific. What your body goes through, it's unbelievable. So, Conor, people ask me why the fighters are so confident. It's not cocky. You just know what you've done in the build-up. You know what you've gone through, and that's what gives you the levels of confidence.
Am I supposed to go in there?
I know exactly.
And go. I'm not sure, you know. No, you don't.
I don't know.
It happens. It happens to fighters, though. It does.
Yeah, I thrive off the fear of losing. Yeah, that's what gets me out of bed. You know, when I get up and do them mad runs, I make the sparring harder for me because I know I've run 10k. They're fresh, but I don't want to lose.
But you know what you do? And it's almost like that paranoia that boxers have. You take everything and you turn it round to like, yeah, I'll prove you wrong. I said to you once before. I said not to you. I said to someone, Conor's the most improved fighter in the country, and you took that as a negative. And I was like, what were you talking about?
Have you managed to do that?
And you said, because you're telling me that I wasn't very good. And I was like, no.
Well, I wasn't really good, so you wouldn't be lying.
That's what I said to you, and I'm scared to say it. But what I mean is, though, I think that's one of your qualities that you sort of take anything and make it so makes you work harder.
You know, whatever gets me out of bed in the morning, whatever makes me, someone's gone to me, why don't you just love winning? Because that's not what gets me out of bed. I fear losing to another man. That's what gets me out of bed. Whatever it is, whatever makes you tick. I could say you said something, you never said it.
Yeah.
But it gets me going, so you said it. You know, that's just shit.
Michael Jordan was the master at it.
Yeah. Is that what he done?
Yeah, he created enemies that were never his enemies.
Oh,
he created. He used to say that Dave Pierce said that about me. He never said it, but he in his mind, he believed it. So he went on the court and he wants to do them even more.
That's how I think. So what, you said that, what, you think I can't win? Watch me. Watch. Everyone's saying I can't count to 160 bit. Watch me. I'll do it, because you lot can't do it, because that's your mentality. I'll do it. And I'll show you.
Conor, what's your dad said to you this week? He's been a massive part of the camp and a big figure here in Fight Week for you as well. What's he said?
No, my dad's just taking it all in, man. I've got a good team, my trainer, my S&C coach, head of performance, chef. I've got everyone here. I've got assistant coach, everyone's here watching me work and pushing me to the limits as much as I physically can.
At this stage of the week, how does the body feel? Obviously the Dobson fight at 150 pounds. How do you feel now?
Yeah, no, I feel good.
You're able to train and eat. I mean, you still got to lose weight, but I mean, you're in a position where you can train better now because you don't have to starve yourself down to an unnatural weight, which I would imagine 147 was.
147, I will drop back down to 147.
Is that the plan?
I will drop back down to 147, yeah, no doubt.
How do you feel, Conor? How's it been adapting sparring with the partners that you've had? You've had bigger boys, and how's it felt? I know you've always had bigger boys. You've sparred at light heavyweights consistently through your career, but has this felt, you know, you're not. It's never an insane struggle to get down to welterweight, but it's hard.
It's hard, but I'm enjoying not having to kill myself on dieting, you know. But ultimately, I've adapted well to the sparring, you know, use my advantages rather than me trying to match their strength or their size. Use what I got, which is
fight to your strengths.
Which is, yeah, exactly.
What I meant earlier, Conor, when I was talking about visualising the victory, what makes this such a personal and important fight for you on Saturday?
Well, number one, I don't like him.
Sure.
Hide it so well.
Yeah. Two, obviously, the family feud, the family names. It's always personal, you know, always.
Conor, taking off the not the anger, but taking off I don't like him. What do you think he does well? If you had to paint one attribute or one picture, what does he do well?
He's got experience.
That's it.
He's got experience, and he's bigger. Okay. He's athletic. That's as far as I go with it.
Why haven't you minded giving the game plan away? Because I've watched you in interviews.
There ain't no game plan. Come in there, take his head off. That's the game plan.
That's it.
I've been saying that you staying low is such an advantage because you can slide in the distance and you've got a big view of the target. And I saw you in the ring there, just a few little moves where you really engage in your legs. Is that something you've been working on? You're not going to tell us.
I fight the way I fight.
I said, as me and Barry were talking earlier, and I said, do you know what the big thing is? How intense and for how long can Conor be? So it's impossible to be.
This is where I can do that for 12.
I just think you don't lose a single round then.
I promise you, I can do that for 12.
But some way, if he can throw 100 punches and land 100 punches around with the intensity and velocity, he will not lose
I wouldn't go
around.
100 punches around.
No,
but when I do throw,
yes,
they're intense. When I do throw, they're fast. I ask all my team when I'm sparring, in the 12th round, as I am intense, because that's what matters. I want to look like it's my first round, and that's what I really drilled myself into. When I'm seeing these fighters blowing after 4-6 rounds, I'm like, what have you been doing? What training have you been doing?
This is why we said before about people in silk pajamas. I said you were born in silk pajamas, and the fact that you want to go to the gym and put yourself through that, I give you both so much credit, because me and Barry, we come from tough, rough places, and you found yourself in this predicament. You put yourself there. You chose this.
Yeah, I still think I'm mad.
No, you are. I told you from day one. You're
living a nice life over in Australia,
mate. I still question why I'm not over there. Jim's on
no, but you're here.
You're here,
and you do the work, Conor.
No tattoos. Things have changed a lot.
I'm done now. I'm done.
Yeah, you do the work, champ.
Conor Benn, best of luck to you on Saturday night. Thanks very much for speaking to us. Let's turn our attention then to the man in the ring. Listen, I just saw a little glimmer in the eye of Conor Benn. Look, he's fired up, we know he is, but when you talk to him about the occasion, there was just a little rise smile.
When he says, I can do that for 12 rounds, and listen, look in his eyes, he genuinely believes. So I promise you, watch the speed he comes out on Saturday.
I would say one thing about dictating pace is important, but boxing at a high pace doesn't mean you're going to last. Because I tell you about people don't understand about dictating pace. When you go for a run with somebody, it's not always the fact. If you go to someone else's pace who runs slower than you, it kills you, it knackers you out. So if Eubank can slow him down, then that's harder for Conor than he's boxing 100 miles an hour, because he wants to box at a high pace and be in control of it. So it's all about punching when you want to punch. So punching when you want to rather than punch out of necessity. That means you have to take a different breath, you have irregular breathing, and that slows you down. When you're having to set yourself to throw, and in your own mindset, it's easier because you can get ready to take a deep breath and excel with your punches. But when you're forced to punch, you can't get your breathing right. So dictating the pace. So if you can go out there and you take the pace at a high pace and make Chris feel it, that's fine. But if Chris can slow him down, then Conor's going to struggle. He can't do that for 12 rounds.
What do you make of him saying there's no game plan? I'm coming in there to take his head off.
Listen, there is a game plan, but I mean, game plans are I think that people go over with game plans and they go overboard with them. A game plan in boxing has to be very fluid, because so many things can happen and go wrong. It's like people say a game plan, I'll lose the first 6 rounds because I know you're tired, and then I'll win the next 6. But what if he doesn't tire? And what if he tires after 7? And what if he can run away and go? And then you've lost 7 rounds and you won 5, but he's won the fight. So you've got to try and win every round. That's the first and foremost. Game plans should never be set in stone.
Let me ask you this question, Tony, because you asked Conor and he just looked off into the distance when you said, what does this man do well? All he drew on was the experience of Chris Eubank Jr. In your opinion, what does this man do well?
He moves quite well. He's in control of himself. That is his greatest asset. He's always in control. He never lets the mask slip. He's always in control, and like I've just seen him then. He's hitting back pads with Jonathan Banks, and he's just said to Jonathan Banks, go on the side, and he just told his fella put the body bag on. Now, I'm sorry, but that doesn't sit right with me.
I'm not a fan. I think your trainer, I've said this in the week.
The trainer calls the shots. That's what you're paying
has to be your god, pretty much. He's in charge of your life in training camp. That's what it should be. But he's had a whole career this way, though. I would say that, Tony. So, and a relatively successful career.
And it works for him, to be fair. Yeah. I don't know where Ronnie Davis is tonight.
But it falls short at the top level he has. That's the truth of it.
But the fact of it is, he's just not good enough, Barry. He's not good enough at the top level. Now, we don't know with Conor yet because Conor's still undefeated. But we do know Chris's level. And there's opportunities he's had, like the Hamza Shiraz fights there for him. The other fights were there for him, and he hasn't took them. So, but I get 100% why he should have took this fight, because as fighters, We're called prize fighters for a reason, and this was the biggest prize. I'm sorry, by a mile.
Of course, financially he's done the right thing, but let's go back to remember Anthony Yarde with Kovalev and not taking that step aside money. I mean, you have to remember what you wanted to be when you were a kid. It wasn't a billionaire and a millionaire. You know, it wasn't to be on a celebrity. no, but seriously, no, I'm joking aside, but honestly, you can beat me up later. It was. We wanted to be champions, whether it was British, world, whatever. You know, we had aspirations of what we could be, but we wanted to be champions. That's all we cared about. And you have to, and you believe
that same mentality.
No, I don't think he does, but I think it hasn't affected his skill set. He is what he is. What he does do, he has a fluid jab when he throws it. His right hand counter can be a really, really decent weapon. But he doesn't throw punches like he used to.
I think he's a, you know
haven't
what?
got the same engine.
I think he's a decent body puncher.
Yeah, I think he does a lot of things well. But
you know, what I will say is, from where he was when he started this business to where he is now, he's a vastly improved fighter. Because he was a raw novice and done novice things when he first turned pro.
Yeah, he was for sure.
Where he is now.
We're walking into the studio now. Obviously, we are out of vision currently. Is boxers Mr. Ben Shalom. Ben, here we go.
This is Team Conor Benn.
No,
I pick Chris. I pick Chris.
Have you?
I say it as I see it, and I just think it's all about what he can absorb in them first 6. If he is still around after 6 rounds, this fight for me, the tide starts turning. But like I just said to Conor, and I said to him, how long and how intense can you be? And he said, he stopped me just before he got there. He said, Tone, I can do it for 12 rounds. And if he can, I don't know how he keeps him off.
Make your case,
Really?
Ben, for your man.
How do you think Chris is going to react when Conor flies at him? Because we all know how he's going to fly at him, but do you really think Chris goes on the back foot?
I actually think Chris is a better fighter than he is boxer. I've always thought that.
Correct. So do you not think he's going to meet fire with fire?
But going on the last 7 to 10 fights of his career, he's morphed into Roy Jones Jr. Now, don't get me wrong, it's box first. He's a better fighter, like I said, Ben. So, I can only go off what he's shown us.
I don't think he gives Conor Benn enough respect to have to box him. I think he's going to fight him.
I think he's going to come and fight him. If he does, this fight's not going long either way.
Yeah. It's one of them. I genuinely believe they know Conor's going to come fast.
Yeah,
but Chris isn't going to. Chris has got too bigger ego to let Conor Benn dictate the pace.
If what he says is right, this fight's over in 4 rounds.
Yeah.
But he shouldn't meet fire with fire. You know, I think he has enough calmness in his approach just to take the centre. If you got to take centre of the ring and work behind the jab, you haven't got to. You can use that jab as a weapon.
I'm just saying, Chris is not going to bounce on the back foot.
Chris don't have to. If he fires with Conor, he gives Conor an opportunity. He can ride that storm and take a little half a step back and throw that uppercut through the middle.
I agree. The first 3 rounds, Conor can be dangerous, and then after that, I think it would just go. You say 6 rounds, I think 3 rounds.
You were asked about the attributes. You were asked about the attributes of Chris, and my point was what do I think Chris's greatest attribute is? He's in control of everything. That's my opinion. He controls everything. When he's in a boxing ring, he's in control. On Saturday night, he ain't going to be able to control Conor. And if what you're saying is right, this ain't going past 4 rounds. Because if he comes out, and I'm not going to lie, I think that's his best chance. I think that's if he could, because I think he's a really good fighter. When he lets his hands go and gets stuck in, Chris Eubank Jr. can fight. I've seen it against Fracci. I've seen it, so I know the lad can get stuck in. But it's like he's trying to preserve himself these last few years, and he's gone to become a boxer. Whether it's what's being taught to him in the gym, whether it's different. Listen, Ben, we've got to be honest.
But what have you?
He's had more trainers than Nike.
Yeah.
But with which approach does he want to take? Do you know he's going to fight?
But what have you seen? Like, this is what I don't get. What have you actually seen in Conor Benn's career that gives you any indication that he can beat Chris Eubank Jr.? I don't get it.
It's what I've seen against former world champions. It's what I've seen, but it's also, like I can say, it's what I've seen against what I've seen in the Liam Smith fight, the first one. It's what I've seen there. And then these are guys
that was because of the elbow. That was because of the elbow. And that was the only time it's ever happened, and he set it right. I think if you're looking at that as
but then we can also go to the rematch with Liam Smith, and Liam Smith is basically hobbling around the ring.
Yeah.
So there's 2 sides to each story. I get it, but for someone like Chris I think the biggest factor is the first half of this fight. If he comes through, I hold my hands up and say, listen, fair play. Because, and I touched on with Barry before, going on attribute, what I think the credit to give both fighters is from the first day they turned pro to where they are now, both are vastly improved. The different fighters. Like, we were laughing, well, I weren't, but people were laughing when these guys first turned pro. These are now up there as big hitters in each of the respective divisions. They're respected, and they deserve to be respected. But Saturday night is, in my opinion, is all about who can inflict the most damage.
It's going to be a mad fight.
How are you feeling coming up against Eddie Hearn this week?
I'm excited. To be honest, we had Frank on Sunday. We've got Eddie on Saturday. I know it's going to hurt him. It's going to kill him if we can do the business. But look, it's about the fighters. What I would say as a fan, there's a lot of fights where I get really excited, but then I speak to my mates, they're not excited. And it's not just because these are two big names, it's because of the way that they fight. They're both casual, friendly fighters.
You should be excited. You're his representation.
It's just going to be, from a fan perspective, an absolute firefight. Do I know what's going to happen? I think if Chris gets through the first 3 rounds, we know it's going to be those first 3 rounds, he's going to bomb at him and it's going to be difficult.
But when you say he has no respect, do you think he's going to meet fire with fire straight away?
100% I do. 100% I do.
I'm telling you now tonight, if what Ben's saying is right, this ain't going past 4 rounds.
I do. I think it's going to be absolute madness.
Because someone has to go. With fire meet fire, you've got to understand styles make fights, and if Chris stands and Conor just beats Conor, it has to happen. Like, it has to end. I'm sorry.
Elsewhere on the card, Ben, I do just want to pick up about Vidal Riley and Chev Clark. Why was now the right time for him, in your opinion?
To be honest, Vidal's been restless. He wants to develop in his career, and he's been looking at perhaps other fighters in our stable who are kicking on and headlining shows, and he wants to be doing that himself. I think he's got the big YouTube following, he's got all that, but he's a top quality fighter. And when you look back to 5-10 years ago in the GB setup, he was considered the #1. He was considered the top boy, and he's such a talented fighter. He's not had that opportunity in the professional game yet, but this is a perfect fight for me. He was obviously meant to fight Isaac Chamberlain, and then we were able to get this opportunity. I know Chev Clark's been out there with Virgil and training really hard, but for me, Vidal's going to surprise a lot of people on Saturday night. I think he's going to box his head off, and we'll have a new superstar in the cruiserweight division.
Eddie likened this to, I don't know if you heard him on the Ring Magazine stream yesterday, to an FA Cup draw, that every now and then, you know, the smaller clubs get a go at the big boys.
I've heard
you don't mind all the energy? Look, the promoter battles, look, the Frank Warren 5v5 didn't go well for Matchroom. You believe this week will be much the same?
Eddie likes being next to Frank because he's still the young promoter, but with me, it's uncomfortable. He doesn't like it. I think, to be honest, I like Eddie, but would I love for Vidal to win and Chris to win on Saturday night? Absolutely. I believe they both will as well.
The most important thing is they're all doing business together. That's the most important thing.
5v5 match.
That's all I care about as a boxing fan. I just care about they're all doing business together.
Which Frank's hard work, as you know, so that's why.
I don't know nothing. Don't get me in a litigation case, lads. You keep one to yourself. But listen, what I will say is they're all doing business together, and that's because of His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh. So I don't care how it came about, but this is groundbreaking and it's brilliant. They're all coming together. Forget the differences, forget whose opinions. It's all handbags. Ultimately, they're bringing all of the stables together, and the more we see of it, the better it is. So listen, I commend you all. I commend you all because you're all losing and winning, if that makes sense. You're losing fighters' records, you're losing money at certain parts. It's probably hard to please and commit to all your commercial obligations. The broadcasters are all on them. But ultimately, this guy's making the difference, so fair play.
It is madness, because when I first started, it was so hard. You couldn't make a fight with anyone. And now, it's as a promoter, it's so much more fun. It's so much more fun. Every fight is easy to make. Everything's getting made. You have people, everything, obviously still have the back and forth, but the fact that the fans now don't accept. They used to accept, oh, he's with him and he's with him. Now there's no acceptance.
And the fans are loving it.
But everyone benefits, not just the fans, not just the fighters, you as well. We all benefit from it, don't we?
The most important thing is the fighters benefit. And fighters' pockets have gone huge and a lot deeper. And that's what matters, because don't forget, everyone tunes in to see what? No one tuned in to see a promoter, no one tuned in to see you tune in to see fighters fight. And that's what the most important thing is.
But they are having to take fights earlier than they'd like to.
So they should, Ben.
Yeah.
So they should. Because long gone are the days of building someone up to 20-0 and going, right, go on that now.
So.
Yeah, I don't think it's right.
Isn't that how you build? You think back to Ricky Hatton and things like that. Where's our next one going to come through unless your career can be guided?
Ben Whittaker's just shown you.
Yeah, Ben Whittaker has. But there's not many Ben Whittakers, is there? And Ben Whittaker's going to be afforded the chance to develop his career because of the numbers that he brings. 2 others get that opportunity.
What he went through on Sunday night will stand that boy in perfect stead. Believe me, because when he's walked to the ring for the first time in his life, so early in his career, on a career-defining night, that boy's career was on the line. Walking to the ring tonight, people don't understand what that draws in a fighter. I know, Barry knows. That is, it's gut-wrenching, it's frightening, it's scary. But he does it and he gets through it. He is such a mentally more adaptable fighter and stronger fighter for that experience now. And it's going to happen with all of your Dalton Smiths, your Adam Azims. They're all going to go through it, and we want to see them. But as I said, don't hold it back, don't make it wait. Let it happen.
Hard to interrupt Tony Bellew when he's in full flow. Tony, I do apologise. One more, Ben. In one sentence, does the main event go 12 rounds? How does your man, Chris Eubank Jr., beat Conor Benn?
It doesn't go 12 rounds, but I can't see anything other than a Chris Eubank Jr. win. I can't see any. Chris is going to have to be, for me, completely gone. Completely gone. And he hates me saying this because we're promoting, it's a pay-per-view.
So you think he's on the decline?
Fight. The only reason he won't win on Saturday night is if he's shot.
But do you think he's on the decline?
That's all we've got time for.
No, I don't believe
Can you believe it?
We'll see on Saturday night.
All the questions answered on Saturday night. Ben Shalom, thanks so much for joining us in the studio, top man. And here is what is still to come this week. Join us tomorrow for the press conference. The last word. 6 p.m. tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern time for our friends over in the States. And then, of course, on Friday for the weigh-in, same time, 6 p.m. and 1 p.m. over in America. And then, of course, the most important part of the week, Fight Night, 5 p.m. live on DAZN. By now at DAZN.com/boxing. 5:15 p.m. the estimated time for the first bell, 12 p.m. Eastern time. The DAZN broadcast gets underway. And also, this week, here we go. Keep your eyes peeled on DAZN for all the up-to-date events coming your way by heading to the DAZN platform and going to the schedule section. As I say, we will find all the live action, including the big one, of course, on Saturday night.
On DAZN Worldwide, April 26th, Eubank Jr. versus Benn. Over 30 years of rivalry and hatred. I do hate him. 2 warriors, 2 wars, but the feud was left unfinished. Then, a bloodline born.
Legacy, respect.
The next generation.
My dad's my hero.
A new destroyer. Rivalry in their veins. Hatred in their blood.
This is going to be the bloodbath.
For family.
It's personal. I can't lose to this man.
History.
Eubank, Nigel Benn. This is a war.
Legacy.
This is the final chapter.
Eubank Jr. versus Benn. Live on DAZN Worldwide. April 26th. Buy now at DAZN.com/boxing.
Well, this Saturday, Fatal Fury, Eubank Benn kicks off a string of big fights coming your way on DAZN. On May 2nd, of course, Ryan Garcia faces Rolly Romero live from Times Square in New York. That's followed by Canelo Alvarez's pursuit of undisputed super middleweight glory once again over in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Pick one or go all in with a knockout weekend bundle exclusive only on DAZN, available to buy now. Then, of course, it's a Queensbury double. Saturday, May 10th, Anto Kakache defends his IBO super featherweight world title against Lee Wood in a great fight up in Nottingham. Then May 24th, Josh Taylor makes his Queensbury debut, moving to welterweight to face Echo Esserman in Glasgow. All part of over 185 fight nights, live right here on your global home of boxing on DAZN. Now, as you might have seen yesterday, of course, this weekend's action, Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves. We had our AI characters created. Some were a bit more complimentary than others, but Mr. Tony Bellew, I believe, has also had his character made. So let's see if we can bring that up on the screen.
What are you talking about?
You'll find out, Ton. Whoa, look at that.
Oh, I'll tell you what.
Have you ever looked like that?
In my dreams, whoa. Have a bit of that. That's fantastic. I mean,
maybe a light heavyweight back in the day.
Wish I'd seen that when I looked in the mirror.
Don't get carried away. They even made me look tall. So.
And with hair.
Oh yeah, only a little bit though. Little Mohican.
Do you know what I must say?
No, buddy. It's just a nice picture. It's not a dream. It's just a nice picture.
You two were on fire today. Darren, I don't know if you could hear. On fire. If there was a Compa Box stat of the least amount of words I've ever said on a stream. This is 100% it.
Yeah. We were told, don't let Jamie
speak. Yeah, I mean, I just sat back and enjoyed it. It was brilliant.
You're just here for the looks.
One more time, Tintin's going to get folded like a deck chair.
Tintin.
Also, he's going to be meeting Snowy anytime soon.
That was a good one. 3 stars for camp for that one, mate. Anyway, that does conclude. Before Tony Bellew chases me out of the building. The media workouts, you know what's coming tomorrow? It's press conference day. I'm actually somehow, not really sure how I've managed to fluke it, but I'm on the stage tomorrow, so wish me the very best.
Something will happen tomorrow.
Well, hopefully not to me. Hopefully not to me. Fingers crossed, people. In at the deep end. Absolutely love it. No way to learn like the deep end. From myself, Tony Bellew, Barry Jones and Darren Barker. We brought in just for a little cameo at the end there. Thanks very much for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow evening.
The greatest rivalry in British boxing history. Benn Eubank.
Everybody took sides.
Every time they got in a room, you were on edge.
It can kick off at the drop of a dime with me and him.
When they come to centre the ring, it was just edge of your seat stuff.
The man they love to hate. Eubank, he was the master of technique. Benn was the master of violence.
Imagine if the sons would fight. There is nothing bigger than Eubank Benn.
He is exactly like his dad, and I'm exactly like mine.
This is personal. We have to make this fight.
What's on the line? And family, legacy, the Eubank name. It's a huge amount of pressure.
What's in my DNA? What's in my veins? What's in here?
I wanted to be a part of something that's never been done before.
The last fight, I believe my dad should have won.
The things that his father put my father through, I can't forgive and I can't forget.
The ferocity, so reminiscent of his father.
I'm an emotional fighter. Fight with my heart on my sleeve, and it's just the way I am.
In my mind, it's impossible for you to win. I know how to hurt people.
I can't lose. I refuse to lose.
It's a public execution.